first time I used ChatGPT, I felt like it was black magic. But now that I've done some research, I can confidently say, I still think it's black magic. But, hang on, now I kinda understand the math and technology behind it, and it's crazy. So as always, I got you. First off, even though it seems like it, ChatGPT is not at all like a human. In fact, computers have the linguistic capabilities of a toddler, so it doesn't actually understand what you're saying. Now, I know what you're thinking. If it doesn't even understand words, then how does it magically combine them to form a perfectly written answer to all my questions? It's just math. The answer is math. Chapter 1. Cool Math. Ever seen one of these? Yeah, thought so. That's a neural network. It's inspired by the human brain and works by activating certain neurons in a chain reaction once others before them are activated. It consists of an input layer and an output layer, which are connected by so-called hidden layers. The layers are made up of nodes, which are connected by weights, and can hold a value between 0 and 1. How do we get these values? Easy. Take all the inputs times their weight and sum that up. Then pass the sum through an activation function, which then generates a value somewhere between 0 and 1, depending on how big or small the sum is. Cool. Rinse and repeat for every node until you get to the output layer, where you will then find one node with a higher value than all the others. That's your output. If your output is not quite spot on, which it won't be at the start, you can then take the answer and compare it to what it should have been, pass this information back through the network, do a little fancy math, and voila, you've updated the weights to incrementally get better and better answers. That's backpropagation for you. Nice, so now we can pass any amount of inputs into a mathematical superbrain and get whatever we want back. I wonder if you can do some really whack stuff with this. Oh boy, would you look at that! It's a group of crazy scientists who figured out you can do really whack stuff with this. What kind of really whack stuff? Like mimic human language kind of whack stuff? Wait, how? Chapter 2. Language Models. ChatGPT is based on a large language model, which is really just a fancy way of saying a big neural network that takes text as an input. How big are we talking? Like 175 billion different parameters kind of big? Yeah, I know, that's pretty big. But what does it do? Basically, it takes some words and predicts what will come next. Okay, but how does it do this? As we know, computers are worse at English than cavemen. That's why the input words have to be broken down into tokens first, which are just numbers. Given a set of tokens, it then tries to predict which tokens will come next, one token at a time, by shooting the tokens through its neural network. Choosing the next word comes down to assigning a probability to every word and choosing the most likely one in the given context. This is nothing new though. If you ever typed on a phone, you've probably noticed these suggestions. They work the same way. Type in a T and it will suggest the word the, since it's the most used word in the English language. Type in, does pineapple belong on pizza? And it will tell you the absolute truth. Okay, but how does it even know how likely a word is to come next? Chapter 3. Training. By training, I don't mean going to the gym with your computer, but rather cooking up a fine meal of lots and lots of delicious data that you can feed into the neural network. It needs a lot of data so it can understand what the output should ideally look like. How much data? In the case of large language models, an absolutely goofy amount of data. Like, ChatGPT is trained on about 500 billion words. If you're not sure whether that's a lot of words, let me tell you, that is in fact a lot of freaking words. If you don't believe me, try to count to 500 billion and see what you look like once you're done. Most of the text was taken from the internet, and as a result, ChatGPT can even work with some really confusing internet slang. With all this text, it can then assign a probability to every word it encounters, which makes generating new text a piece of cake. Now, this is all really cool, but without proper guidance, it could also spit out some wrong or potentially dangerous information. How do we fix this? Chapter 4. Fine-tuning. The goal is to create a model that is more aligned with human values, like not blowing up the planet or avoiding pineapple pizza. There's multiple things we can do here. You could create a reward model, which is based on human feedback, rewarding good answers and in turn making it better over time. You could also engineer it to filter out certain prompts that are considered potentially harmful. For example, how can I make pineapple pizza? Then the model will simply avoid answering such absurd questions. Okay, but on a serious note, who actually eats pineapple pizza?